So a lot of the time I'm posting one student here and there, and I have 30 plus millionaire students, which is pretty cool. If you click the link below, you can apply for my challenge. This is where all my millionaires have come from. But in this video, I actually talk with not one, not two, not three, but four of my millionaire students who all joined the challenge. They've all now made 7 figures. Even Jack Kellogg has now made 8 figures. And they've just had an incredible journey. And now they're actually helping teach other people too. And I'm very excited for them with Clover Trading. You can use the code TIM10 underneath. Click the link below to save 10% off. I think it's really good to learn from as many millionaire traders as possible. Take a little something from everyone's journey and use these tips to help speed up your own learning curve. But take a look at this whole interview that we did, and we're just talking about the different trends and different tips that we've learned throughout our journeys. I'm so proud of these guys. Check it out. All right, what's up everybody? Tim Sykes here with a special treat. We've got several young millionaire traders joining me. Huddie, Dom, Kyle, Jack, welcome. How have you guys been? It's been a little while.
Go ahead, Huddie.
We've been good. It's been a while since all 5 of us, I think, we're on the same screen. That was maybe the first time that Tim cussed me out for taking a ski trip in February during the pandemic market. Dom, Kyle, and myself are all crossing $1 million that same week. And that was the last time I think the 5 of us were all on a webinar. So it's been a couple of years and it's been good. It's been good. I've been traveling, trading, staying alive, protecting against the slow markets and pushing it when it's hot. Jack, Kyle, Dom.
Yeah, that was a cool little thing. It was like the week before we were in Austin, Tim, and then we did a webinar of literally all pretty much 4 or 5 of us crossing $1 million the same day. That was really sick. That seemed like, I don't know, yesterday. Time flies. But yeah, just trading along, trying to I'm knock on wood, closing on 5 million. So just kind of keep grinding every day. Yeah.
Nice. Huddie, what are you up to these days? Are you over 2 now?
I'm very close to 2, but it's been a struggle. It's been a
2
struggle.
what? $2, 2 Mexican pesos, 2 Colombian pesos, 2 francs.
We don't say the word million, Jack. We're above that. Come on.
Look,
that's what you make us do.
The last 2 years have been, kind of difficult to really go exponential in the profit curve. I'm making base 6 figures, which was much different than 2020, 2021, but also super happy to be green in a market that has proven to be excruciatingly tough. And so, the best thing I did for the past 2 years was protect, preserve capital, cut losses quickly, all those great lessons that Tim imparted to us a long time ago, and be able to be in a position to push that capital when the market's right, like we did in 2020, 2021.
Nice. Dom, how have you been doing?
2023 has been kind of a break-even year, been a good growth year for me. It took a big hit to the confidence at the end of 2022, early 2023, with some big losses, one on the long side, one on the short side. And so I've been kind of trying to get back to the risk management stuff that kind of got me here, and realizing that, no one play is worth risking too much money on. As the accounts got bigger, it became a lot easier to lose more and, not think about what those dollars actually mean. So 2023 for me has really been about sizing down, trying not to care about the money and, the P&L. This is the first time in years that I haven't been going into the fall, winter with like a huge cushion of multiple 6 figures to feel like, okay, let's close the year strong. Now it's kind of like, what is this year really going to mean? And so I'm trying to separate, this year is a blip to me. I've gone sideways at the top of my P&L chart, and just realizing that when I look back on this in 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what I did in the calendar year of 2023, but really what I learned and what I used to grow and move forward from it. So it's been a good year for me, just in terms of being humbled and taking what the market gives you, not pushing and pressing just to meet certain dollar goals.
No, that's good. Listen, some years are better for learning, some years are better for earning. It all adds up in the long run. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Are you over 2 million now?
Yeah, I don't know my exact numbers. Every time I update my Kinfo, something gets broken on it, but I think I'm right around 2.4, and I've just been sitting there all year.
But that's not a bad place to sit. You're sitting on top of your hill. You're
Yeah.
like Scrooge McDuck sitting on top of all your little dollar bills.
It's like a backup quarterback waiting to get his like starting slot when the QB gets injured. You're like, you're ready. You have all the tools, but you're waiting for your time.
I mean, listen, it's been a rough year for a lot of traders. It's been a rough 2 years for a lot of traders. You have to remember, 2022, what was it? The average trading account, there were a few stats, lost 40%. 40% in 1 year. And if you look at the balanced portfolio, the 60-40 portfolio, all this stuff, everything sucked. So if you're within shooting range of your all-time highs, that's a huge win. I know we always want to keep moving forward, but I'm barely green in 2023. I'm barely green in 2022. It's good to digest everything. And the key also, as Dom just said, when you have more money, it's easier to lose a lot. And you guys are all new millionaires. So it's very new material, new feelings for you guys. And you're like, wait a minute, let's see, how much should I spend at this nightclub? What's reasonable? What's too crazy, right? You're still getting used to it. And you guys have come so far, so fast. So it's impressive. I want to give you guys props, just the way that you handle it. When I made my first million, when I was your age, when I was young, I was a complete mess in my early 20s. I didn't handle it well at all. And you guys are infinitely, wiser and more responsible. So props to you guys.
Now, thank you. And just to compare and to bring Kyle and Jack into the conversation, it feels like a win to keep the accounts at the highs, to trade small, to acknowledge the market's not right for your system or whatever it is. But sitting here and trading with the guys like Jack and Kyle, who continue to push, maybe not same relative to what they were doing in 2020 and 2021, it gets in your head sometimes when you have your colleagues who, Jack's still having, what are you at this year, Jack?
Just under 2 million this year.
That's freaking
in
insane.
Profits.
I'm at 1.9 something.
In profits, not just total account size.
Yeah, dollars made this year.
That's awesome.
And then,
but
Kyle?
The crazy thing about my year this year is the first 6 weeks during the January effect, quoted from Timothy Sykes, when a lot of companies are putting out new press releases and there's a lot of Christmas money coming into the market. Statistically, the market goes up. There's more liquidity. There's more opportunity. And the first 6 weeks, I was able to make 1.4 million, which is a significant amount of my profits, considering that now we are in mid-October and I've only been able to make 500,000 or 600,000 more in the last 8 to 9 months. Which it's just the percentages, though. You know what I mean? So for me, the entire middle part of the year has just been learning how to turn it on and turn it off, and also finding the right size accounts that are suitable for me, where I can take good position sizes and still make money while protecting myself from unnecessary risk. Like last year, trading with multiple 7-figure accounts, I would take, bigger drawdowns than I would like. I remember I had multiple 500K drawdowns where I would just, either take one huge loss or take multiple losses and draw down. Whereas this year I've had some drawdowns, but they've been 100,000, 200,000. And it's a lot easier to bounce back from that versus being down 600K in the hole, because I'm not going to make, I've never made 600,000 in one trade, but 100,000 in a week is very sustainable for me to do if the right opportunity comes.
Look, you guys are learning, not all profits are created equal. Not all markets are created equal. It's nice and easy to say, when you're first starting trading, or if, many people watching this are just thinking about even trading, you want to annualize it. Okay, if I make 100K this year, then next year I want to make 150K. And you think that it's a normal job where you're going to get a raise, but it's not. A lot of the things that you can do this year in 2023 or in 2024 can pave the way for a $5 million year in 2027, versus people who are working normal jobs. They might make 55,000 this year. Then next year, with a lot of hard work and good bonuses, they might make a little over 65,000 with a little bonus, and they're employee of the month. Trading can go up and down so much, and you have to kind of, fit this into your lifestyle too, because obviously when there's no good trades, you want to push it, but there's nothing to really push. Then you start pushing in a bad market, you push bad trades, and then you lose. And so you have to learn. So it's like, you know, very up and down. And that's why, you know, going back to 2021, early 2021, it was very similar to early 2000, where it was just a mania. And I literally looked down at my fingers. I remember we were at Kyle's place in San Diego, and I looked down at my fingers and I was like, I don't have enough fingers to do all the trades that I want to do. And it was like, you know, I was trying to push it, and I still couldn't really push it that aggressively because as a teacher, I've been, you know, pretty conservative. I remember one day when we were all trading together and I made $50,000, and it was like a big day for me. And
You made
Jack
50,000?
Jack, you looked at me condescendingly and you said, good job. And it was like, you know, a small trade for you, but it was like one of my best days during the pandemic. So like it all depends on how much you want to push it, your stress levels, your lifestyle. Like that's why trading is so beautiful, but why it's also so confusing to outsiders when you haven't made a lot of money, or maybe you've made a lot and then you've lost a lot. Like a lot of people in 2021, 2022 thought that the world was new, like, you know, conservative trading was out. I'm a boomer, I'm obsolete. And then they lost half or most of their money in 2022 and, you know, early 2023. So I'm just glad you guys are surviving and, you know, staying near your new highs or making new highs. Like that's impressive. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Little circle, a round of applause.
Not you, hodler. I see your Bitcoin sign in the background. You're still hodling. You didn't take any profits with Bitcoin at 30K, did you?
Nope. ETF's coming, baby.
I hope it booms. It's just, you know, it looks like there's a lot of resistance. You know, Bitcoin has been, for all the doubt, has been like the best asset over the past decade. But I just want to see more volatility. Can you pump it up? Can you hype it up somehow?
I think end of this year, early next year, I think we'll break out of that 30K range.
I mean, you could just pick any time in the future and say, this is when we're going to break out. And
what do you think about, what about like when silver like ran to like $50 per ounce? And that was like what, 10 or 15 years ago or something like that. And it's really just sat at like $25 an ounce. Like, is that something that Bitcoin can do? Like just kind of sit at 25,000 and just like not do anything for the next decade, since it's been the best performing asset? Like we haven't really seen Bitcoin just like stabilize, you know? And with that, you know, Bitcoin hit 65K. That was like kind of with Elon, you know, buying it and
69K.
69K with the stimulus checks and all that stuff going on. What is your take on that, Kyle?
I mean, yeah, I mean, anything's possible. So it's, you know, in my opinion, it's just one of the millions that could be out there. So it's, yeah, I mean, it could do anything. It could go sideways 25K for years. It could go back, it could make new lows back to 15, 10K. It could go back to 50 or 40. I don't know the reasoning behind why silver did have that boom that it did. The one reason why I am still bullish is with the ETF. It was like, because it went to 69,000 because of the stimulus checks, Elon buying. And so, yes, for any asset to go up, you need, you know, more inflows of money or some demand, obviously. The reason why I like the ETF argument or the idea is very similar to what happened with gold. Gold had its ETF come out and then proceeded to go up, I think 200 or 300% the next 10 years after that. So it's just a very fundamentally, you know, solid thing. And if it doesn't happen, then yeah, that would be very negative for the whole overall space. But if it happens, I think it's positive that we would, I don't know where or when or why, but we would, it's likely we would be a higher price than we are today. That's all I'm really thinking. So.
It's a guessing game. Before we get into more technical guessing games, let me just, you know, go over with all of you guys, like, where are you in life? Like, what do you guys you're like the proud, the multimillionaires. Like, what have you done with, you know, your newfound winnings? I know that you bought like a Bitcoin sign, Kyle. What else?
I bought that sign for him.
It was a gift from Kellogg.
Just inspire people, because we got a lot of people, you know, it's like, it's a never end grind. If you're a trader, like, what's the upside?
Right. That's a good question. Because my goals now, I actually don't have any. I guess I do have still some now, but some of the ones that I accomplished were, I wanted to take my family on a private jet. We did that. I was able to take both my grandparents, which was awesome. I it was expensive, but it was ever worth every dime. I was able to then take that same family, not the grandparents, but everyone else, my aunt and my parents, to Italy, which finally happened this last May. That was also incredible. I took them on business first class, like the same way, Tim, you took me on first class to Dubai, where you lay sideways. I took them sideways or on that first class to Italy, and they had never had it before, and it was a really good time to show them that. Got myself a nice Tesla, and I think the next big goal is maybe saving up for a house, but obviously with interest rates, I have held off. I'd rather just buy it in cash or a large sum and just not pay interest, but maybe that's the next thing. But I also like using that money to trade with as well. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. And I mean, you're at 5 million, like you got to pay taxes. So everyone watching, like understand like 5 million sounds nice, but after taxes is like 3 million. And then you have expenses. So like, you guys are all young. How old are all of you now?
27.
28.
25.
I actually turned 29 in 3 days from.
Nice. Woo! Happy birthday. What are you going to do?
I got my whole family coming into town. We're in New York right now, and we're going to go to a bunch of different restaurants, see the Statue of Liberty, just have some fun.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What have you been doing to celebrate lately?
To celebrate? Everyday celebration.
To celebrate your achievements.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole reason I got into trading and the whole reason I joined the challenge in the beginning was because of your messaging, which I wanted to travel. I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. I didn't want to work every day. I wanted to work if there was opportunity. All the things that you used to say or still say. And once I made, $1.5, $1.6 million, I finally got to achieve that dream. I started traveling to different cities. I lived in Miami. I lived in Scottsdale. I'm living in New York this year. I bought $1 million property in Scottsdale because I love it there and it's fully rented, generating cash flows for me today. So pretty much got all my expenses taken care of and can continue to trade very comfortably and just in a good spot. It's like so different from 2016, 2017, 2018, where every trade felt like the end all be all trade. And now it's just, you're in such a more comfortable spot 8-9 years in where it's just way more familiar. So yeah, doing really well, really happy with all the progress, with capturing all the dreams. And now I have to create new goals because past, making $1 million and not having a real 9 to 5 and traveling the world, like what else is there, and that's what I'm trying to discover now.
Nice. How about you, Dom? I hear you're married with kids in a house and a 2
No
dog.
kids, no kids, 1 dog. But yeah, similar to Huddie, the reason that trading seemed so interesting to me from the beginning was just the freedom to be able to not have to go into a job and every single day, the same hours, overtime, working for bonuses, fake smiles, all that stuff never really appealed to me. Being able to do what I want. I really like the idea of trading where it's kind of all on you. There's no blame on anyone else. No one else is really responsible for your successes either. Like it really feels nice to know that you've accomplished a dream and like you set out on a journey and like actually did something with yourself. I don't feel like a lot of people feel that way when you just get out of college and you go take the first job that offers you. You don't really feel like you're chasing anything. So I really like that competitive nature of like sports and being a professional at something with trading. For me, it's just been about not traveling the world like Huddie does, but the freedom to do what I want. I like to fish, I like to hunt, I like to golf. I like to just not be in front of my computer. So the ability to do that, go on a week-long vacation and not feel like I have to trade or do anything. I got married, gave my wife her dream wedding in Maine last year. That was pretty awesome and expensive, but it was awesome. I got a couple boats. I got an RV. I like to go hunting. It's just a lot of doing what I want to do, and having the ability to do that just makes me happy every single day.
No, congratulations. That's awesome. You sound like an old, retired man, but
yeah, that's who I am.
Half their age. No, it's awesome. I mean, this is like what a lot of 50 and 60-year-olds dream about because they didn't learn trading. They don't have retirement. They're working for these crappy companies. They want to go boat and spend time with their kids or their grandkids, and they can't, and it sucks. So that's what, I think trading is all about. It's not just, you don't have to travel. You don't have to have, views like this outside here in the Bahamas.
Beautiful.
It can be whatever you want.
It's a nice house.
It's really nice. Got a good little spot right here. And there's a little private beach in the back. So this is what I do before the conference coming up in a week. I'm trying to just relax and chill because it's about to get crazy. But Jack, how's life changed for you?
Yeah, I think that really since I started making a lot of money and started like experiencing stuff, just getting back to like one of the first things that I did, it was like a couple months after the really hot boom in 2021 that has been mentioned so many times in this video, but that's when I gifted my parents $50,000 in cash each, and that was really the first thing I did and the main thing I did. And then after that, it was a lot of trying different stuff, so like traveling to different places, going out and eating different types of food, experiencing different culture. It just felt like it was part of like the thing that like you had to do once you made the millions of dollars, because that's what Tim taught us really. And
Like, go try caviar.
and Huddie loves it, and like Kyle does like a little bit of it here and there, and Dom, just like you said, it doesn't like it as much. And for me, it's been cool to just like experience it and get to see like what that's all about. And I got to travel for like the 2 years after or so, and then this year has really just been about just like chilling, and it's been a lot of hard work over the last several years in my trading. And this year I really didn't do anything too crazy. I went to Dubai with Tim and I did some traveling stuff and started Clover with these boys, and just tried to find other streams of income, because I always remembered if you're a millionaire, you have multiple streams of income. And I only relied on trading, which brought a ton of stress.
7 streams is the average millionaire.
7 streams. Yeah. And I've gotten up close to that income stream. And that's kind of what this year was for me, was just like finding that peace inside myself and that happiness, finding that health and doing all that stuff. And it's something that I've been working on the previous 2 years, but I really made it a priority this year to just get into a good routine and just love my life. Just wake up, do a little trading, go out, do whatever the hell I want, and just come in and just feel good, because it's, I'm working on other streams of income and I'm still enjoying my life and still getting to do things that I've really, love to do, just different hobbies and different stuff like that. So it's been a good year, just nothing too crazy though.
No, it's good. Listen, like you guys, like I said, like you're all new millionaires, and it's fun for me to see like how you're taking it and what you're learning, whether it's travel, whether it's like, boating and like domestic life, or, just trying different stuff and seeing what fits. Like, this is the beauty of having freedom. Most people don't have that freedom. They don't have the ability to find what they love. Even if they do find what they love, they don't have the time or the finances to be able to do it. So like, it's all kind of in experimentation mode for you guys right now, which is awesome. And it's cool for me to see. This is why my whole team like works so hard with the challenge. And this is frankly, like, I feel like a proud father. I know we're not like blood related. Maybe Huddie and I are, when some ancestors, but it's really cool to see. And I want you guys to keep doing well, not just financially, but in life. And, let's remember, we have one life. So it's not just about money. Everyone sees your profits. They want those profits, but they don't necessarily want to put in the time and hard work required to get those profits. And then even if they do get those profits, I know a lot of traders where they have no lives and they're completely addicted to just, getting to the next level with their account. Like they're getting up at 3-4 a.m. looking for locates. They go to bed at 9 p.m. No alcohol. They're doing like 75 hard every few days. They're probably serial killers in their spare time because they pretend to be so controlled, on social media. But for me, I just want you to explore the world. I know the world is going through some tough times in different places. So for those of us who have the ability to be free, we really need to maximize it. But, just speaking about freedom right now, what do you guys do to not overtrade or to not oversize? Because it's difficult. I remember when I first became a millionaire, it was difficult to size down and tone down the aggression. So if you could just go one by one, how do you come down from 2020, 2021's madness and still, find kind of a rhythm?
Yeah, for me, it's just about having systems in place and some kind of process. So like generally what I'm doing, my workday looks like this. I short in the morning and I buy afternoon breakouts towards close, right? And I feel like in the pandemic, it wasn't that structured. It was like if something was breaking out in the morning, I wanted to buy it. If something was having a first red day, I wanted to short it, and I'd have 6, 7, 8 trades. So just pretty much focusing on time of day and knowing where my setups perform best and only wanting to trade that in that specific hour or 2 hours really helps me kind of avoid the market when I shouldn't even be there in the first place. So a lot of times, like, midday comes around, I'm immediately going to the gym. I'm stepping away because I know that most of the trades that happen during that hour are going to be self-sabotage. As far as risk goes, like I'm always a big believer in consistent risk. Like if I have stats on a specific setup and it says I should be risking $1,000 to make $4,000 and I have consistency there, I want to make sure that I am staying consistent with that risk tolerance and not doing like $10,000 risk on one trade and then $500 risk on the other, so that at the end of the day, I have all these muddy results that don't really mean anything to my performance. So just keeping those two things in mind.
So average 1 or 2 trades a day?
Yeah, actually.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Some days with 0 trades.
Some days are 0 and those days are blessings.
What about when there's solid setups? Like I was flying this one day a few weeks ago and I saw TTOO, perfect morning panic. That was our play. That was our pattern. Did you capture that?
Yeah, 40 cents. Yep, I remember that.
Did you buy it? Did you dip buy it?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Okay.
That was the first panic I've bought in like a year. Like I don't buy panics very often, but that one was just too good.
I literally was flying and I was like cursing, and like the flight attendant came over and she's like, "Sir, calm down." And I was like, the Wi-Fi.
You don't understand.
I was like, "It's perfect. It's perfect." And she's like, "Do you want
She's
to go
like,
out
what's
to
perfect?
wine?"
And you're like, this is a panic dip buy. It happens after a multi-day run. You start explaining.
I was trying to explain it to her. I was trying to show, and in case you guys wonder like what we're talking about, there's actually a video we're going to link below. Huddie actually recorded it of, what was it? Shrimp.
SHMP.
SHMP, perfect morning panic. Like, did all of you guys capture that dip buy on TTO, or did you short it? Both?
I shorted it. I think I tried to dip buy it, but I was too focused on the shorting aspect that I didn't take part of it. But it was sweet bounce. Yeah.
I was too busy bragging about my short that I missed the dip buy.
But how much did you make on the short?
I think that day I made like 70 grand.
I mean, you should brag about that. That's not.
Yeah.
How much did you guys make? Did you all trade it?
I didn't trade it.
I think I made 10 grand or so, 10 to 20, somewhere in there.
I actually never short sold it, and that's why I was so willing to buy the panic. It's where I would have covered my short, and I made like $1,000 on the panic dip buy. Nothing compared to Jack 70.
It's fine. And this is another thing that I want you guys to just cover for a little bit. You brought it up earlier. I forget who, but it was where it's tough to be in this competitive field where you see other people like trading big and then you're trading small and you're in different things. And then you're like, I deserve this. Like I should get that. How do you deal with those emotions? Like, are you okay with that? Like, you're doing the same trade. Jack's making 70K. You're making 1,000. I made 0.
Like, it's one of the things that racks my brain every night. Like I need to go to a therapist and I have a picture of Jack and I tell her about Jack almost every time. I'm like, and sometimes Kyle's on that therapy session because it is a struggle that, these guys take much bigger size than me, and it's the same setups. And people ask me all the time, like, why don't you just add a 0 or take the same size as them? And it's, it's easier said than done because the emotional things that happen once you're trying to compete with someone else's size, like your trade plan, your execution is going to go out the window. So it's just kind of coming to grasp with the fact that I am my own trader, and, competition between others is great, but competition with yourself is the most important. There was a time where during the pandemic market, like Tim, yourself, Jack, Kyle, Dom, all of them were like, Huddie, size up. Like you're doing well. You have consistently, like it's time for you to like get what you deserve. And in that market, it was the right time to do that. But then as we exited that market, if I had kept doing that, I would have blown up. I would have been one of those guys with minus 40% of my account. So it's a struggle, and it's something that always is in my mind, and I'm always, trying to do better with it and, develop my strategies in a way that I can. But at the end of the day, like I can't trade like Jack. I can't trade like Kyle. I have to trade like Huddie.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting, like, it's awesome to see what all of you guys have done. But, you know, I bring up like how Jack and Tim Grittani are 8-figure traders, but you know, when you try to trade like Jack or Tim Grittani, the results are not pretty. You know, they have the data, they have the expertise, they have the experience. It's their own setups. They've modeled it. They've worked so hard. Like even Jack, I think you said once upon a time when you tried to do Tim Grittani strategy, like you got, you know, smacked around.
Yeah, whenever I trade like Tim, I always lose money. And that's something that I've kind of been just dealing with and wanting to get comfortable with, because Tim Grittani has came back to the markets recently, the last 3 months, and he's very actively trading. And I've been speaking with him, you know, a few times a week, and he's always taking bigger size than me nowadays. And at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't care as much, because I know that my data and my setups are telling me that this isn't my time to size up. So he can go ahead and take all the size that he wants and make all the trades that he wants and have these, you know, major winners. Like I know he had a major win on FEMY, and I was just like, damn, that's really sick. But it's just not me at the end of the day, right? And that's what we all need to like kind of figure out. And it's just like, who are we? And yes, we can get better and learn from these people, but it's impossible to replicate exactly what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, I always say, you know, get inspired by each of your journeys. It's amazing to see what you have done. Like it's statistically seemingly impossible, but don't try to copy exactly, because the market is always changing. You know, people's personalities are different. Our time zones are different. Our experience levels different. Like there's so many, you know, different things going on. Like with FEMY, I mean, I was buying that breakout and like my whole chat room, like the challenge chat was like all shorting it. And I was like, what are you guys doing? I always have to warn against shorting. Like, even though these companies are terrible, you know, fundamentally flawed companies, they can spike faster than you realize. It's actually a market, I think, that's kind of like inverse, where it's like the worst of the worst companies can spike the most. So I'm not debating the fundamentals. I'm not saying like, oh, they're not a terrible company, but you have to respect the upside potential of a lot of these plays. So you just got to find what works for you.
Am I next? Am I up? I was gonna say,
you're up. How many trades are you doing per day right now?
Yeah, I'm taking about, I would say the same, either 0 to 2 to 3 around there.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm, you know, every month I'm only averaging like 40 or 50 trades a month. So you average, you know, only 20 trading days a month. But yeah,
how many were you doing during like the pandemic?
Oh, I think my highest month was February. I had like 150-ish, like 148. So like triple. That still is my most profitable month. I think I made like 440,000 or 340,000. No, 400. Haven't even come close since that month. That was insane.
And just to be clear, that was the month that Huddie was going snowboarding.
He wanted to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
He did go.
So since then, it's been an adaptation. 2022 was definitely one of the rougher years that I've had. Not only in a decrease of income, but in terms of just the volatility of, you know, let's put it this way. I think in the first 6 months I was up 800,000, which is great. But by the end of that year, I had made 460. So still a great year, but like the emotional journey to get to that endpoint of giving back pretty much half my year was a huge adaptation and tough. And I think I took that adaptation and made it much better. And now I'm this year I'm up around 800 to 900, like high eights. So it's like I had the year last year, but without the losses of giving it back. Knock on wood, there's still 2 months left, but I've done a lot of reflecting and new rules put in place to prevent that. So you know, the tougher of years, like you said, you know, you don't know when it's coming, but the future years end up being a higher odds of being better because of what you've taken and learned from previous years. So it's kind of
that's beautiful to hear. You know, like, you know, 2 years in a row where you're at like the $800,000 mark in profits, which is awesome. But because of your experience, because of what you learned from last year, you've now adapted, right? So like that's the direction you want to go in. Imagine if you had a solid year in 2022, you made the 800,000 and you locked it in, and now you're up 800,000 this year, and then you lose half for whatever reason. Then you're like, going backwards in your education, which still, sometimes happens, because then maybe that would pave the way for a better 2024 or 2025. But it's better to adapt. And it's interesting that you say that too, because my year 2000, when you guys were all in your freaking diapers or, barely even born yet, year 2000, I made over 700,000 in the first 4 months of the year when the NASDAQ was crazy, the bubble was crazy. The last 8 months of the year, I lost 10,000. And that was like a huge night and day, because I was just buying OTC breakouts at the time. Then the OTC breakout stopped. I didn't know short selling yet in the last 8 months. I learned it, but it's crazy to go, from making so much money and feeling like you're on top of the world. And I was like extrapolating, like if I make 700,000 every 4 months and then I build it and then I'm a billionaire by age 35, like, the market is always changing, and you try to find like these veins, like these little, streams of income and these little patterns that repeat for a few days, weeks, months, maybe a few years if you're lucky, but then the pattern could disappear. And then the question is, will you hold on to that money? Will you learn from your mistakes if you do lose, which, it's kind of inevitable where you're pushing it, especially if you're pushing it with size and the market changes, you're going to lose. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how much, but then can you adapt? And it sounds like, Kyle, you've adapted quite well in 2023.
Yeah, totally. I feel even to say, let's say I didn't screw up last year. And technically let's say I made the same 800,000 both years, just how this year has gone emotionally, mentally, it feels night and day for sure. It feels like I am not on, let's say like stepping on Legos. Like all last year, I just felt like any day it was a stepping on a Lego, this year's been much more
stepping
smooth,
on a
much
Lego.
more
Is that
steady.
supposed to be painful?
Yeah. Just like any given day was like, it wasn't, I don't know. Trading can be stressful, but it's like, there's a good stress and then there's a bad stress. I think 2022 was a lot of a bad stress of just like, unneeded losses, even losses that were still keeping me around 100,000. Just a lot of bad habits that I think the 2021 and 2020 market created. I had to kind of reshape and get rid of. So.
Yeah, I mean, there are two kinds of stress: is eustress and distress. And people say they're so stressed, but like if you're motivated, eustress is actually very good. Distress is bad. I still don't understand, why is stepping on a Lego so painful? What do you step and you fall?
Have you ever stepped on Legos
They're like
before?
pointy.
Yeah, so what? I'm a klutz. I fall into all sorts of
Stepping
things.
on Legos is like
on a scale of 1 to 10, like I'll choose stepping on a Lego to like hitting my toe against the door, slamming the door into
those
my
are the
foot.
worst. Against the bed frame.
Yeah, the bed frames, like sometimes I'm just, these glasses, I need them. I can't even wear contacts anymore. Sometimes I just misjudge and I just fall over. Stepping on a Lego, like I would choose that. I don't like that analogy. I'm sorry.
All right, it's fine. It's fair.
Dom, how many trades are you taking this year per day?
Pretty much on average with them, Huddie, probably 1 to 2 a day max. They're just, I'd probably trade the least out of anyone here just in terms of setups. So they just haven't been coming around as often. So my focus is a lot more narrowed. So there are days when I don't trade. But if I do, it's 1 to 2 a day. I think I probably adapted the worst out of any of us to the changing markets from 2021 to 2022 and didn't necessarily feel the burn of that till this year, because 2022, I still had a really, really good year for me. And it was basically just
How much did you make in 2022, roughly?
I think 600 and something, 700. Yeah. And it didn't, all the habits that I had, my stubbornness, I feel like was really bad, but there were plays that would bail me out because I would go huge on the really A+ setups. And for a long stretch, they worked really well. And then till the end of 2022 and then into 2023, I started to do that same type of thing where it's okay. There's hasn't been a play in 2 weeks, hasn't been a play in 3 weeks. The next one that comes around, I'm going giant on. And those would be the ones I'd lose on or get stuck in an after hours offering, and then it was like 80K hit, 60K hit. And then all of a sudden my momentum's crushed. There's not the plays to make back the money. So you create bad habits to try to create a solution. And that's what I feel like I did a lot of at the beginning of 2023, was just like trying to dig out of a hole. But doing it a different, like I had a hard time accepting that I wasn't going to be able to get out of that hole. doing what I was doing, and I needed to like just build back from the ground up. And that's kind of where my mindset is now. And it's taken me way too long to kind of realize that, you know, I look at Kellogg and I think this year specifically, he's just, I've said this like 20 times already on live streams and stuff this year, like how proud I am of how he has been able to turn it on and turn it off, like on a week by week basis, a month by month basis of, okay, the plays are here, the setups are working, time to push. The second he gets a bad smell in the air of, okay, something's happening, it doesn't feel good, I'm gone. I'm going to go fishing for 5 days or 7 days or whatever it is, then pull away. And I feel like I have just tried to sit there and like grind it out, when in reality, it's just a waste of my own time. And just that stubbornness, like sometimes working too hard can be a negative if it's not done efficiently. And the way I've seen Kellogg do it really well this year has kind of opened my eyes to, you can be fully engaged in the market and on top of it and being able to adapt without having to sit there all day, without having to trade. And so, like I said at the beginning, it's been a growth year for me. I'm finally learning those lessons, which usually means some sort of hot market's about to start, because I finally feel like I'm starting to implement the rules to get back on track. But yeah, so for me, it's just, trying to adapt on a day-to-day, week by week, month by month basis, and just get better at not being stubborn and just doing, again, what Huddie said too, just keeping it consistent, not going balls out on a play just because it's A+, and I haven't seen one in a while, but keeping it more relatively even to try to be more consistent going forward.
Nice. No, listen, so this is a year of learning for you, but I don't think you give yourself enough credit where, this is good for you, right? Like maybe everything you're doing in 2022 and 2023 has led you to be better prepared in 2024 and 2025. Maybe Jack is doing well in 2023, but then he gets a little too cocky and he's like, oh, I can switch on, I can switch off. And then he has the worst year ever in 2024. That could happen, right? Like, not everyone is on the same path, and it's difficult for everyone to see that. Like I'm fortunate where I can see a lot of people's different paths, and it's very cool where not every year is the same, not every trader is the same, but it doesn't matter as long as you're moving forward either with your profits or with your education. Maybe, sometimes people bet too big because they're so pissed off that they haven't made money, and then they bet terrible on a terrible setup, then they lose it all, and then they stop trading and they stop their education, and they basically sabotage themselves from learning. Like the whole key is staying in the game. So whether Jack, can turn it on or turn it off, that's him. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe if you try that, it doesn't work for you, but staying there and not trading and just sitting there and watching, maybe that's really going to work for you in 2024, 2025. Like every single person is different, and there's no one size fits all. I don't want Jack to have a bad year in 2024. I don't think he's going to get too cocky, but it could happen, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really cool nuanced part of trading that doesn't make sense from the outside looking in, especially for beginners who are seeing in all these chat rooms on Twitter how other people at their stages are doing, whether they're killing it, whether they're struggling, and they relate it to their own journeys. But you could realistically give the same set of circumstances to do identical traders, like the same setups, the same market, and they could do totally different things with it based on what's going on in their life, based on who they are as people, based off of their psychology and their perspective on things. And it really is such an individualized type of game that it's not all the same. Just because one person's killing it, another person doesn't have to be. And just because the market's great doesn't mean you necessarily should be killing it, or and if you're not, it doesn't mean you're failing. It's just a really cool part of trading that basically the sky's the limit for what you can do. It's just getting yourself on track and not putting yourself up against goalposts that don't make any sense on someone else's journey.
Listen, it's good and bad, because it's similar. Like if you're a chef and you give a chef, like the two different chefs, the same recipe, and they come out with the food and it tastes very different because they're using their own tastes. They're using their own, backgrounds, which is good. Like if you like multiple tastes, but like a lot of people in trading, they just want exact stuff. Like, how do I just become a millionaire? Give me the exact formula. Like, what did you guys do? And I think it's good to kind of have a structure where, this is like what we try to do with the challenge, where we have a structure now that we have, 30 plus millionaires in the challenge, and there's a path that you can follow, even though there's different paths along the way. And obviously the market is always changing too. I wish like you could just pause and just be like, okay, market, stay put, and we'll get endless examples to practice with like promoters. Now the promoters are gone. Now, for me, I love short sellers. Like I used to make fun of promoters. I used to say, hey, I'll send the promoters like edible arrangements so they can recover from their Coke binges faster. Now I say like, I'll give edible arrangements to, short sellers so that they can get out of the hospital and they can get their blood work done faster and, give them some vitamins to deal with their excessive levels of stress. Whatever spike stocks, I don't care whether it's a promoter or a short seller. I'm just happy that there's volatility.
Totally.
I disagree with this whole conversation. For me personally, this year, I've been way more stressed going long because the amount of bad news that has come out after hours on stocks, doing reverse splits, stocks that are 3 cents that just will go to the OTC. I love cheap stocks. I love really shitty stocks. Anything under $1 that's listed trading big volume, I love it. And those are usually my biggest winners on the long side because you can get a lot of shares and they can move really big. Low floats, I've never been good at trading. Higher price stocks, I'm not good at either. And it's just all these low price stocks. If you're holding them in the after hours, I'm just stressing all night. Like they're going to come out with bad news. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. With short selling, I wait till market open. I take a short into a spike. I cover into a dip. I take my profits and I move on. I'm not betting on stocks to have huge downtrends and continue to sell off all day for multiple weeks, for multiple months. That's why personally for me, I've actually just, hated going long recently in the last 6 months.
But that's you also. Like I traded some low price stocks today and I sucked at it and I was better with the $4 stocks and I'm not holding after hours. I have the patience level of an ant. Like I can barely even hold it for, like 20, 30 minutes. But with the short squeezes, if you see what I see from a time perspective where I'm literally traveling, I'm still, busy AF. I want that quick pop. I want that quick spike. So in past years, it would have been the quick spike with promoters, or, if there was an ongoing promotion, I would hold overnight and then sell into the newbies, buying at the open. But now it's the short sellers, and some of these morning squeezes are absolutely incredible, even if they do fade, even if they do toxic financings later. Like for me, I'm just looking for that quick pop. So it depends on what you want. You have to be a lot
less patient, or you can't be patient this year on longs. If you are, you're going to get,
And that's why it works for me. And this is like, I created, or I tailored this strategy to my patience level, to my schedule. And if I was patient, like I see some, short sellers, they're not wrong. Like a lot of these stocks do drop 50, 60, 70, 80% over 3, 4, 5 days. They do the toxic financings or not. Like you have the all-day faders, you have the dilution tracker. Short sellers aren't wrong, but because there's like an overabundance of short sellers, and I like to piss them off on Twitter, and I'm like, short sellers are an invasive species. And so like, because of this invasive species of short sellers multiplying like freaking locusts, it creates amazing squeezes. Would you all agree that the squeezes in the past 2 years have been much bigger than any prior year?
Oh, insane. Like
100%.
Never been seen before squeezes. Yeah.
So thank you to the short sellers. If you know any short sellers who need like vitamins, if they're having extra stress, cholesterol, heart disease, lack of hair turning white, I'll give them edible arrangements. And for those of you who don't know what edible arrangements are, it's fruit. I'm not offering them edibles. I'm offering them fruit. Okay. Just to help them with their immune system so that they stay healthy, they short more, they create better squeezes. I always say thank you to the short sellers, just like I thank the promoters. Short sellers might not be on Coke, but they create better squeezes.
Kyle loves it.
Because there used to be a lot of promoters. Now their OTC promoters are gone. They don't.
The promoters are gone. I think all the promoters are like on the sidelines waiting to see what happens with like the Atlas trial.
I saw a tweet this morning of one promoter that I've been following. This is what he said.
Don't say his name. Don't ruin it.
I'm not going to say his name. He says, "Good morning." He says, "Good morning. I know it's been a long road for CYBL shareholders, but I firmly believe that the MDS advisors will make CyberLux the greatest turnaround story in the history of the hashtag OTC markets. The CE nonsense will get resolved and we will be all right in the world again."
Listen, OTCs have been heating up the past few days. I'm a little excited, but I don't expect great things because, again, promoters are pretty much just like dead and gone, at least for right now.
I mean, I think of myself as kind of like a lot of other OTC traders out there. Like, let's just see one work. Like somebody show us one that's going to run, right? And then the next one I'll participate in. But if
Well,
they
so
can't even show
AA,
us one,
do you remember AABB just had a nice little 50% spike yesterday? And I
did
saw
hear
that
about
one.
that. Yeah.
I did not see it. I need
Look
to
at,
see like a big percentage move though. Like,
I mean,
yeah,
50% is as good as it gets with volume on AABB. Oh, listen, we all banked on OTCs. We would all love OTCs to come back. I just don't see the promoters there. I don't see the volume there. For me, I
none of
try to
it's
get
there.
where the money is, like a lot of people are like, why aren't you trading OTCs? I don't see the volatility. I don't see the setups. Like you have to adapt.
Get more volatility trading the SPY.
I know. I mean, it's sad. All right. So we have like 10 minutes. I just wanted to go over, now that you guys are also teaching with Clover Trading, congratulations. It's pretty cool. What do you guys see people having problems with the most now that you're, the shoe is on the other foot and you guys, have nearly a decade of experience, each of you. And now you see a lot of people with like 6 months or 12 months or, even 3 months. What are they doing wrong?
For me, it always comes from a lack of understanding of what an actual pattern is. And it just comes down to market dynamics, because execution, entries and exits, that's like more of an art. It's going to change from trader to trader on how they play defense and offense. But oftentimes, like I see people trading stocks where there's like no thought process behind what are they actually trading? What is their intention? What is their expected reality? Have you done any kind of forward thinking about the situation you're putting yourself in? You get to market open, you see some stocks that are green on the day, and these people just start buying and alerting their trades. And it's like, that's not what stock trading is. And I get it at one point, like you want to catch the morning spike, but hopefully early on in your career, you realize like that is a death sentence. If you're trying to catch every stock that spikes in the morning, like a lot of them are going to fail. So it's just about like identifying patterns, identifying structure and routine and criteria to the things that you're going to actually trade, and making it more of a science as much as you can. And I think people skip that step.
Good answer. Dom, what do you see people having problems with?
Yeah, for me, I see a lot of impatience on the macro level and the day-to-day, just like patience in general, where people just play the victim mindset of like, the market's horrible, you're so lucky you had 2020, 2021 or 2017, 2018. And where I look at it is like, it's a positive if you're starting in a market like this, because this feels like it's as hard as it can get. And so if you can find a way to gain profitability in this, you learn a lot of great habits that the people in 2020 and 2021 didn't learn, because all they learned was buy stock go up, short stock go down. And so I think longevity wise, that's a great place to be learning, because you have more time to study and more opportunities when they come around to actually focus on them, versus in 2020 and 2021 there was 20 multi-day breakouts a day. It was hard to even figure out why one worked and why one didn't. But then also like the immediate gratification of like, and I don't know if that's just the generation these days, but like everyone wants to trade everything. They don't look at the four of us teaching as like, okay, I'm going to try to find what makes sense for me. It's, I need to do everything Jack's doing, everything Kyle's doing, everything Huddie's doing, everything Dom's doing. And that's not how any of us got to where we are. We focused, we specialized in one area, pulled one thing from a teacher, a mentor, or another student that made a lot of sense to us, and we went into the basement and just studied it until we knew it better than anyone else. And so I think I see a lot of that, kind of what Huddie's saying, where everyone just every day it's like whatever the hot mover is, that's what they're going to trade. And in reality, we're for the most part ignoring most of those and waiting for big picture daily chart setups.
No, that's a lot of great points. You guys, and I bring this up to quite a few people, you guys all started during slower markets. And I think it's a blessing to start during a slower market where it's, like you said, it's difficult. You have to try to fine tune stuff. Like you're not going to just be rewarded for dumb luck. A lot of people who started in 2020, 2021, it was very difficult to teach them anything. Because if I try to teach rules in like conservative trading, like I take a 15% profit, they're like, Sykes, you're a boomer. It went up 200%. You suck. And I'm like, I mean, I could be more aggressive, but like, how do you teach rules during a mania? It's like, a free for all. It's like a buffet and everyone's like, all you can eat. And I'm like, no, have your vegetables, have this. Like, like,
well, and then you're seeing them get rewarded for mistakes. And you're like, don't do this, don't do that. And all they keep seeing is that stuff working. And so it's like, you just sound like you're being paranoid or something, but in reality, it's they weren't good setups because they didn't have the volume or the range or whatever, the theme, the news, and they're seeing them work and they're going, you're an idiot, so I'm not listening to you. When in reality, those are the type of things that bit a lot of people in 2022.
And then the market teaches you. Like you can either learn from experienced traders with their rules, or you can learn from the market. And the market is not an exact science. The market is far more expensive. Like, this is what I always say to people, where they're like, oh, screw you and your rules, I'm just going to learn on my own. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And then they come back 6, 9 months, 12 months later. I'm sorry, I should have listened. I blew up a $50,000 account. And you just don't have to make that mistake. You don't have to be that cocky. What year did you guys all get started? Which year?
2016.
Yeah, 2016.
late 2016.
And that was not a great 2016, 2017, 2018. Like, they were decent years, but they weren't like 2020. You guys were all primed. It was so beautiful. It was like, if I own like a vineyard and you're preparing the grapes and you're ready for like the amazing harvest. And then the rains all came. And then like 4 or 5 years into your journey, like it just, the heavens opened up and you guys were all prepared.
Everything
Agreed.
aligned really well with the amount of time we put in, and then the onset of the market where we weren't getting lucky. We were just, all of a sudden we had extreme volatility and we stuck to the same patterns and they just worked that much better. And it was really nice because our journey was like, yeah, you're right. Like 2015, 2016, those were tough years. I even remember 2018 being a tough year. But within those tough years, we had moments of really nice sectors. So we had like brief introductions to what 2020 and 2021 was going to be like. Like, we had the marijuana sector, we had the Bitcoin sector, we had the shippers and stuff. And then, so we knew how to trade insane euphoria. But then when it happened every day, we were able to, make our profits go exponential.
It's all preparation for future years. On webinars lately, I ended and I'm like, what are you going to do to be prepared in 2027? And everyone's
I like that.
How jet lagged are you? Like, it's 2023. And I'm just like, no, you don't understand. You're planning for 4 years from now. You don't even understand it.
It's so true though.
And picture that, like, college is a 4-year thing, right? Like, no one comes out of freshman year and like, okay, I'm ready for the job market. They commit to like 4 years minimum, most people in college. Why can't they do that with trading? Trading is this instant gratification thing. You guys are actually bad examples. You became millionaires far too soon. I wish that you didn't size up, but it's cool. That's the beauty of trading. The upside is huge, but you don't realize the amount of time and hard work and dedication necessary in the interim before you can get to that level. Kyle, what do you see people having problems with?
Yeah, it's a mix of all what we just said, which is, I think, right, in some cases we're an example that shows that it's possible, but it's also, when people see that and they're unjoined, you want it now. You want this instant gratification. You want this. I'm not going to college because I want something sooner than 4 years, right? To make a significant amount of money. And yes, some people do. But like you've always said, it really is a marathon and not a sprint. And if trading isn't something you want to do for at least a solid amount of years, the odds of you succeeding in creating any substantial amount of wealth for yourself, you make it much tougher. And so I see a lot of traders who are in the markets trying to trade, trying to go through this journey. But they're like, if I say there's a day, today is just not, there's no setups. If there's any day to take a day off, it's today, or go study, it's today. Today's not a trading day. They'll be suggested like, well, what about this ticker? What about that ticker? And then it's like they're looking and trying to forcing trades versus letting the trade come to them. And even myself, I catch myself sometimes looking at like, oh, well, I could trade this today, and then I have to remind myself like, no, that's not what's made me money. And so I see that a lot in beginners.
You got to wait for the best setups. And if you don't know what the best setups are, that just means that you haven't studied enough, right? Like, people always want, like, what about this? They get like a little inkling. They see like, a first green day and the stock is up like 3%. And technically the candle is green, but I'm like, that's not a first green day. Like, there's no news. There's no big percentage gain. It's not meaningful. They're just happy that they can like differentiate between like, let's say 3 prior red days, and now the candle's green, and they're like, first green day. And I'm like, you child, like, hardly anything. You will not get paid for your lack of effort or your lack of studying. Like, you need to know these patterns inside and out, and that takes time studying. Like, Jack, what do you see people having problems with? How much did you study in the beginning?
Really, I think the key thing for everybody in the beginning is just to track everything that they're doing. I don't see enough people putting in the outside work.
Did he disconnect? He froze on us. He's just like this.
He froze. He froze. I don't see people putting in the outside work, and someone cut it off because
On his Wi-Fi.
I'm in the freaking Bahamas. I'm surprised this thing is even working. I had to do like a test before. But yeah, I mean, listen, that's what it comes down to. You do have to put in the work. You do have to study a lot. It's pretty amazing to see what you guys are doing. And now you're teaching your patterns and through your journeys. I should mention, we have a special link for Clover Trading just below. If you want to learn from these guys, the discount coupon code is Tim10. If you want to save 10%, just because, you know, I'm Jewish, I like deals. Who doesn't love deals? But I think it's good to learn multiple strategies. I think it's good to learn from multiple traders. Everybody just wants one strategy, one pattern, one mentor. And I think that's a mistake. You know, like even with the challenge, we give multiple webinars a week from multiple millionaire traders. Learn from these millionaire traders too. And you try to, you know, not necessarily replicate anyone's success, but you try to take a little something from every trader and you build that into your own process. I get this comment all the time. People are like, I just want to copy trade. I just want it to be exact. Sorry, that's not how this works. Nothing is exact. The market is changing. We're all different people, and you have to just try to fine tune. The good news is you can fine tune, you can optimize, and it's amazing when people get that light bulb moment, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3, or even like a little light bulb, like there's like a glimmer of a light bulb going off. And then maybe a year later, they take that glimmer and they turn it into something bigger with size, or they see the same pattern again. And it's cool because this might not be an exact science, but history does repeat in the stock market. Like I said, you know, 2021 was very similar to 2000. 20 years difference, 21 years difference, but the mania in the bubble bursting was very similar. And it's crazy for me because I've been doing this, you know, for a quarter of a century to see both. And if you stick around, it might not be a quarter of a century to see like such manias and bubbles bursting again, but it does happen. And there's a lot of comfort in that. So I'm excited to see what you guys do, you know, with your own trading, what you continue to do, what you continue to do now with your students. It all helps speed up everyone's learning curve. And that's what this is all about. Like there's no magic formula to becoming a millionaire. There's no one magic formula for every single person watching this video. There might be 1,000 people watching this and 1,000 of you got different lessons from this video. That's life. That's who we are. And all you can do is try to learn as much as you can so you can be better prepared when there are great opportunities, whenever they come about. Whether it's later 2023, whether it's 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032, 2033, 2034, 2035, 2036, 2037, 2038, 2039, 2040, 2041, 2042, 2043, 2044, 2045, 2046, 2047. What will you do in 2048? How prepared will you be?
Gosh, well, I'll be 2048.
I'll be
How old is that? Like, I'll be 40, 50? How old are
I'm calling it now.
Oh, man.
2048 is going to be the biggest mania ever. Bitcoin 1 billion.
I don't know about
Be a
that
good
one.
year for Kyle.
Look, it could happen. I'm just saying we don't know when the next mania is. We don't know when the next great play is. All you can do is control your preparation. That's it. And most people don't have that attitude. They don't have that mindset. Thank you guys for creating, you know, so much good educational content. Thank you for, you know, sharing your lessons. There's a lot of successful traders out there and they're like, I don't want to share. It's up to everybody. Like you can't force everyone to share, but I think that this industry could be much better, much more popular, the more that we share.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, Kellogg left, but I would say to your point of multiple teachers, I think that's why Kellogg is one of the best because he will absorb anything from anybody, good or bad. And so I think
He's a sponge.
right, learning as much as you can in your learning curve is crucial. Back to what you said about people coming back in 6 months later and saying I lost 50,000. The market's more expensive, 100%.
Final thought, Tom.
Be the best version of yourself you can be. I don't know. Final thoughts on
Anything. Be the best version, but you know, I would add to that and I would say be the best version of yourself over time, where you're not going to be the best immediately or necessarily even year 1 or year 2, but time goes by and you have that right improvement mentality. year 4, year 5, year 6. And like, you're experiencing, not every year is about earning big money, but that doesn't mean 2023 is a waste for you. You've learned a lot, and now you can take these lessons, and then, hopefully it'll help you in the future too.
Yeah, take it day by day, one step at a time, whether you're in year 1, year 3, or you're like 8 or 9 for some of us. Seeing you say a quarter of a century, it's crazy because, I feel like I've been doing this forever, because every day just feels like it's under a magnifying glass, and every year is under a magnifying glass. But in reality, I'm 28. There's a lot of time left, a lot of days of trading left. Continue to think about the big picture, zoom out a bit every now and then, be proud of where you came from, make plans for your future, and, never stop grinding. Life's just a little more fun when you're on the hunt for something bigger.
Agreed. Huddie, final thought.
Just put in the 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to be a master at anything. For me, that was like 3 years when I did the math of finance in college and trading every day. So have that wide range expectation of how long this is really going to take for you to master, and do your best to stay safe while you're learning. Stay small, trade small, miss small until you actually have consistency. And then that's when, trading becomes more of like an income.
Beautiful. And thank you guys again for joining me today. Thank you for sharing so many lessons with so many people. Really excited for the future. Let's just keep taking it one day at a time, and trying our best to capitalize either through lessons or through, profits, or ideally both. So I got to get going too, but thank you again.
Beautiful.
Right,
Thank
we'll
you,
see
Tim.
soon.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Cheers, guys. Remember, everybody, click the link below for Clover Trading. Use the coupon code TIM10. Save money and learn. Get educated. The market is more expensive. Don't do that. How amazing is that? Like, they're so responsible and so well-rounded for making so many millions of dollars when they're young. Like, it's crazy. Trust me, I made millions of dollars when I was their age. I was not as responsible or as mature as them. And for me, I'm always trying to be the mentor to others that I never had. So I like to think I had a little something to do with how they've turned out. But now they're, all on their own. And this is what I love about all 30 plus of my Millionaire students. They're all self-sufficient. They don't need me anymore. I'm just training wheels. So I'm glad to help speed up their learning curve. I hope to help speed up your learning curve. Again, click the link below if you want to apply for my challenge. And the second link will be for Clover Trading. Use the coupon code TIM10 to save 10% off. Just keep learning, okay? Trying to find different patterns, different rules, just whatever you can to really help you in your own journey, okay? You can never learn too much. You can never over-prepare. Thank these guys for their openness in the comments below. Wish them well. I'm really excited to see what they achieve in the future, and I'm just so proud of them, just like all my Millionaire students. And I want more. So you tell me if you're going to be dedicated. I want more dedicated students. How bad do you want it? You tell me. You choose.